When I was much younger, I watched a lot of movies. I watched Back to the Future when I was 6, every Star Wars movie when I was 7, and many others. However, one that stuck out to me the most was Shorts, released in 2008 in Europe and then in 2009 worldwide in the summer. It wasn't too far from my favorite movie, but it was definitely one that stuck out to me for its unique storytelling style, showing the entire movie from different perspectives of different characters in a, well, series of shorts. This was a movie that other people have thought to not even exist, and I know for a fact that a lot of people have wished this was a fever dream instead of an actual movie, because oh my god, this has got to be one of the most unique and strangest films I have ever seen. The movie shows the Warner Brothers logo and then starts abruptly with episode 0 serving as a cold open and features two characters being the Blinkers. They're both eating breakfast and one of them suggests to play a much more complicated staring contest, and we get a montage of their everyday activities with them not blinking until the next morning after making a mess. Their mother snaps at both of them and they don't know who won in the end, so they play again. The Warner Brothers logo gets shown again and we are now shown the studios that made this film, that being Image Nation, Abu Dhabi, who were also in production of Furry Vengeance, Ghost Rider, etc., MRC Media Rights Capital, who produced Ouija, Peter Rabbit 2, and Devil.
Look.
And Troublemaker Studios, who have produced every single Spy Kids movie, The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and Ugly Dolls the movie. Robert Rodriguez, the director of this movie, was also the director of all other named Troublemaker Studios films. Going back to the movie, we find ourselves in a small town called Black Falls Community. We then get shown three brothers who are playing outside but then are called inside to watch their sister. The next shot shows a father and his son wearing hazmat suits to prevent the spread of germs or the funny cough of 2020. A giant mansion is shown with a really bad zoom-in shot to a girl wearing pigtails. The narrator then shows his house and his sister walks out of her car and makes fun of him for not having friends and playing cards all by himself.
Shut up, who asked you?
The movie then introduces a gadget called the Black Box, which is able to do anything and everything and shows the factory where his parents work at. An infomercial plays showing what the Black Box can do and also features the weirdest sound I will ever hear coming out of a dog. It then seemingly makes fun of Starbucks sizes with Super Grande, Grande, and El Nino. The antagonist, Mr. Carbon Black, gets introduced and smashes the competition, literally. He then fires two employees and their spouses. Mr. Black then continues talking about a brand new update that he wants to roll out soon and calls on Toe's parents to figure it out, making them work against each other, which causes a strange dialogue between the three talking about how if one fails then they're both gonna get fired anyway. Then we get chaos and then a funky shot with Toby forgetting what the order of events were, so he has to tell it in a series of shorts. We then get a title screen which introduces more lore to Toby's character with a fart sound effect. Episode 2, Toe Thompson and Alienated. He wakes up and shows his morning routine with braces and it goes on for 45 seconds with personal commentary. The flow of this scene is eerily similar to Patrick Bateman's routine in American Psycho.
Only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze, and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I simply am not there.
He's eating breakfast and his family berates him about the fact that he doesn't have any friends. He goes to school and his bullies are making fun of him for having braces, and we get introduced to Cole and Helvetica Black. And yes, even though the joke has been made many times before in other videos about this movie, her name is a font. Yeah. They all crowd around Toby and he points out the fact that she loves him and he makes comparisons to each other, and in the end he gets thrown into a trash can. We then get Loogie.
Science. Oh, the scientific part of science. Science. But I have a hypothesis.
Who mentions a wishing rock and the fact that his homework was eaten by a crocodile. Helvetica presents aggressive behavior in female wasps. She mentions the fact that male wasps are weaker than female wasps, and then shows an example of male stuffing with an animated video. Looking into this, I actually found an article from 1997 which talks about this exact same thing with very similar wording. Female wasps are actually bigger than males, but something that this movie overlooked is the fact that male wasps don't have a stinger. Another fact that this movie overlooked about male stuffing is the reason why females stuff the males is because the males eat food that is for the larvae, so female wasps put a stop to this by stuffing them. Oh yeah, and Toby gets stuffed into a trash can because this entire school is unhinged. Toby introduces himself to Loogie and tells him about the Blinkers. Oh my god, there's actual linearity in this film. And a lesson on independence from family which quickly falls apart because his brothers just take him away. Toby walks home and gets followed by Cole.
Oh, buddy.
The bullies start throwing rocks at him and he climbs up a tree whilst throwing rocks at Toby, and one of them throws a rainbow rock and headshot. Toby picks it up and a voice tells him to make a wish. multiple times. He wishes for friends.
As interesting and as unique as I am.
Then aliens come out of nowhere. He goes back home and hides them in his bag and puts them in the kitchen. They watch a cooking video and Toby sits with his parents while the aliens prepare a meal. Toby's sister throws her black box on the ground, complaining about how she broke up with her boyfriend because he's immature. They'll hear sounds coming from the kitchen and Toby goes to investigate. He finds out that they made a ridiculous selection of food, and Mr. Black calls Toby's parents to see how they're doing. The aliens clean up Toby's room. Oh yeah, and then there's this weird shot of his mouth with them cleaning it. His sister is on the phone with her ex/boyfriend/ it's complicated, and she picks up the rock and wishes that he grows up and he starts growing. She doesn't take this well and hangs up. She also finds what she was looking for. Oh yeah, and the aliens have completely removed Toby's braces, and then he tests their strength against the bullies.
I will show no mercy.
He then goes to school looking like a Sigma male while his sister is driving on the phone asking him to get in the car. He then gets flown to school. Helvetica sees him and he runs into the school and he reveals to her that he doesn't have braces anymore and they're all surprised. He goes into class and the aliens listen to music on his black box while the teacher is about to show a chemical reaction. He fights with the aliens and Helvetica gets hit in the face. Also, the aliens fly away and Lugi's the only other kid in the whole class to see, and Helvetica is about to eat a live fish while the teacher is trying to be very careful.
She ate the fish.
Yeah, everything is just going wrong, and honestly, I have no words for this entire scene. Also, Toby and Helvetica broke their arms, and only their arms. The aliens ponder whether to abduct him or not, but they decide against it because he's not a fit enough specimen for it. Also, this scene I'm just going to gloss over, and all I'm going to say is the fact that the actor who played Helvetica in this movie is 10 years old at this time, and Robert Rodriguez is friends with Quentin Tarantino. That's all I'm going to say. This scene literally goes on for over a minute and is just super weird.
Have at least one new friend. Lugi.
The movie rewinds to episode 1, Lug, Lugi, and Laser in the Wishing Rock. There's a terrible storm outside, so they're inside playing 4 different games on 4 different screens. Instead of looking out the window, they put on the Weather Channel. Also, the Wishing Rock came from the sky. Lore. Weak one at that. Lugi turns his black box into a baby monitor and they go outside and go on an adventure and see a rainbow that goes right to the Wishing Rock. Extremely convenient. Lugi gets told by the rock that it's a wishing rock. He wishes for never-ending chocolate bars, the instructions, the short version of the instructions, a fortress, and a canyon with man-eating crocodiles and venomous snakes. The brothers request for him to say better wishes, and they all end up throwing the rock into the canyon. They walk for a bit and see the rock, which ends up turning into a crocodile. It swallows the rock while the snakes appear and surround Laser. Lugi jumps into the crocodile and gets puked back out. The crocodiles seem to have wished for better mobility and movement, kind of. Lugi wishes for something to take them away. A pterodactyl picks them up and drops them at the top of the fortress. Also, the crocodiles are able to climb up to where they are.
I wish I had telephonesis.
He then wishes properly for telekinesis, and it acts more like a vacuum than actual telekinesis. Lugi wishes to start things over at home. They talk about the dangers of the rock, and the baby gains sentience and omniscience.
I don't need words to communicate, only thoughts.
Laser wishes for a catapult instead of a trebuchet, and they launch the rock away. Oh yeah, this is how Toby got the rock. We are now with the quote-unquote weird kid. His name is Nose, and turns out his father is so insane about germs that he quarantined his entire house to avoid having them completely. His entire house is wrapped in plastic because of this. Also, Toby's sister is the rock again. Decontamination chamber. Episode 4, Nose Noseworthy in Big Bad Booger. Nose then gets examined for germs, and while his dad is explaining something about mitochondrial relays, Nose picks his nose and throws its excess mucus into the testing area that his dad was messing around in. Nose goes to his tutor, Toby's sister, and he inspects the rock while she tells him that he should go outside. He wishes that his dad's inventions worked, and a giant mucus monster starts forming. Toby and Lugi are at his front door, and Nose just straight up destroys him.
I should break your arms.
But looks like someone beat me to it.
Gross. Toby then straight up commits breaking and entering, but knows his dad's concern is germs and not the fact that he doesn't have a window anymore. They then get wiped down and Lugi hits on Toby's sister.
Well, hello. I'm Lugi.
The rock then gets thrown, again, and then eaten. Also giant mucus monster.
It's the second time that rock's been eaten.
What? Noz's dad releases a very convenient barrier that then just gets destroyed. Why does he have this barrier in this specific hallway? That's just way too convenient for this entire movie. He escapes in an epic parkour sequence and Loogie gets touched by a woman. Toby then puts his broken arm into the monster. Nose picks his nose again, threatening to eat the monster's friend, and so they leave. But Nose hasn't touched grass in a very long time, and so he just doesn't breathe. He then falls into this very well-placed mud puddle. The monster gets sucked, Ghostbuster style, and Nose finally breathes in fresh air. Toby sees the rock, takes it, and then runs away with Loogie. Luckily, the Noseworthies are now outside and haven't blown up. Also, episode 3, the grown-ups and the miscommunicators. Toby calls Helvetica. What? I thought they hated each other. She tells him not to come to the party at all, and Toby's parents are discussing issues with their communication, and then his dad suggests to implement Facebook onto the black box.
So we just spy on him. That's a new feature I'm adding. Spy on your kids. I'll have an answer in no time.
They have a somber moment together, but they keep getting messages and so they're unable to kiss. Toby is sleeping and wakes up to find his mom in the room, and she takes the rock for some reason and just puts it in her purse. They go to the Black Mansion, and Loogie tells Toby that he has a wishing rock, and Toby realizes that his mom took the rock. Toby's parents are at the front door of the mansion, and as they're about to go in, she falls over and he picks her up along with the rock and wishes that they were closer, which causes their bodies to join together. They go hide in a bush and try to make a wish and realize that she doesn't have the rock, and Helvetica goes out and finds her purse while Toby sneaks up on her and gets one in the face. Hard. Also, how are they so mobile with their arms if they're both broken? They're both in the kitchen after Mr. Black asks Helvetica to help tow, and she drives a cloth into his previously punched eye. He tries to make an escape and instead gets punched, and she gets the rock, and Cole creeps up behind him and makes a soy jack face. Trash can. Helvetica gets mad and wishes her brother to become a dung beetle.
Rock gets thrown again.
Toby's parents finally go into the house and Toby demands the rock back. They both go into the main hall and go look for it. Mr. Black makes an announcement talking about how he wants to have the new black box update to wow him, and that if whatever attempt fails to do so, he will fire that person. He then asks the Thompsons to stand apart, to which they can't. The dinner tray then gets served to Mr. Black and he eats a bunch of popcorn and doesn't realize that the rock is a different weight compared to the food. Also, he wishes everyone had a go for the throat type spirit. Chaos ensues, and the rock gets thrown around to multiple people, and Mr. Black gets fed up with Helvetica. In short, she wishes that he would listen to her, which causes him to have bigger ears, signifying the fact that he is able to hear everything now. Helvetica has by far the weirdest character theme in this entire movie. She wishes that the arm casts were off, hers only, then a rocket bike, and Toby reassures her that she has friends, him being one of them. Also, her braces are gone too. She crashes off the bike and lands into a trash can, causing the rock to roll out and go back to the mansion. Mr. Black picks it up and it gets thrown again. Toby then screams, and Helvetica shows up angry, and Toby throws the rock away. It lands at the Noseworthies. Wow, previous episode. On a good note, the Thompsons are having less of a dysfunctional marriage. It is now the final episode of this series of shorts, episode 5, Everyone in the End. Nose breathes, again. Toby runs away with Loogie and wishes that his casts were off. Cole comes out of nowhere and tackles them both, allowing Helvetica to have the rock. Lug, Laser, and Nose all join up with Toby, and Nose calls Helvetica
Typeface.
which is actually unironically the funniest thing in this entire movie. Also, Mr. Black and his employees show up demanding the rock. Nose takes the rock and they run away from them, and Nose turns into a bird. Laser then takes the rock and runs through the Blinker's house and gets really long arms, and Helvetica becomes invisible. Laser then ends up with Helvetica in his arms and reverses the previous wishes.
You know, I always did like you, Laser.
Really?
Mr. Black now has the rock. He fires everyone and wishes for a giant pile of money. He then has a strange monologue about technology becoming obsolete, and Helvetica tricks him with,
Come on, Dad. You must be joking.
wow,
I wish I were.
he wished for a thing. Also, he's somehow on top of his own company, and a Walmart version of Agent Smith gets the rock and begins to wish for something, and Helvetica interrupts him, turning him into an... He rolls away. John then comes out of nowhere and saves Mr. Black and causes Toby's sister to faint. Loogie shows up like a white knight and...
Well, hello. I'm Loogie, also known as
Mr. Black then wishes he could become a Bionicle. Instead of wishing for everything to stop, they all take turns turning into things that they were before / mentioned previously. Also, the sister of the blinkers lost. Chaos ensues, and the shot from the start of the movie plays, and Lugi's sister comes out of nowhere, and before getting eaten by a crocodile, she stops everything and explains how the Rock is angry because of its overuse and how power hungry everyone became. Dr. Noseworthy then gets a suspicious white liquid, which everyone takes to join hands while the baby is forming a Rainbow Rock cult. She then causes the Rock to spin out of control, grows larger, and eventually just dissipates out of existence and causes a 5-second rainstorm. Another poop joke. They then mention the fact that another rainbow appears, which could possibly be a nod to his second shorts movie. Spoiler alert, there isn't one. The Thompsons finally tell Mr. Black they're going to work together. Stacy cuddles her boyfriend, Toby and Helvetica finally make peace, and she introduces herself to Toby's parents. Toby's parents actually work on their marriage and become a better couple. The Noseworthys work together, and Dr. Noseworthy works with Mr. Black. The black box became the green box, and this movie ends off with Toby wishing that they were in a Hollywood movie, and considering the fact that I saw this movie in theaters when it came out, I'd say it worked out pretty well. 3 days before Shorts was released, a Nintendo DS game was released for it on August 18th, 2009. The game was fittingly named Shorts, and it required you to run through 26 levels and 3 episodes from the movie. Episode 1 had you play as Nose, Episode 2 possibly had you play as Lugi, and Episode 3 might have you either playing as Toe Thompson or Helvetica Black. Each character had their own ability and special jump. The game is a 2D side-scroller platformer with 3D rendered backgrounds. The enemies that you can encounter in this game are booger monsters, bomb-shooting crocodiles, poison-spitting snakes, bats, and sparking robots. The final 2 I don't recall being in the movie. Also, the goal of the game is to solve puzzles, fix wishes gone wrong, and then destroy the power mad Mr. Black in his factory. I can't find a place to buy this game, but I found this video on Amazon for it. Unfortunately, it is currently unavailable to buy. Some people are selling it on eBay, but for ridiculous prices. Right off the bat, I'm going to say that this movie is extremely weird and a little uncomfortable to watch at times. However, it has a couple good things about it. The story is pretty entertaining and unique, telling the entire story out of order when it would have just made more sense to just tell it straightforward, but because it's a child, so haha, they're so dumb and have a short attention span and they keep forgetting things all the time. Out of all of the live-action kids movies, this is definitely in the list of the obscure, weird, unique, and watch if you're really bored type of movie. Going back to the story, the format of this movie is similar to Pulp Fiction's out of order storytelling where the epilogue plays in the prologue. This movie is not Pulp Fiction, but there is a lot of inspiration strictly with the storytelling format. Pulp Fiction told the story out of order for the narrative that Quentin Tarantino was trying to put together, whereas this movie's reasoning is basically just, yeah, Toby's like 12 years old, 12-year-olds are stupid, dumb heads, they forget everything. There are a total of 6 total shorts / episodes, being Episode 0, Lugi's story, Toby's parents' story, Nose's story, and then the final episode being the end. This movie has a lot of general ideas and themes that it states, the main one being be careful what you wish for. However, the episodes dive into more broader and complex ideas. Episode 0 dives into how kids play games that look stupid to everyone looking in, hence they're doing a staring contest and how funky they look. But I feel like it also represents the fact that as children, we don't really care what we're doing as long as we're constantly in the moment and having fun, not caring about what anyone else thinks about what we're doing. Lugi's story dives into the types of kids who are more adventurous and constantly wanting to go outside to discover something, or even just to pretend there's someone else, like Lugi did with his brothers wishing a giant fortress in existence, getting his imagination running wild until he couldn't. Toby's story is mainly about how some kids struggle through school and bullies. It also covers some kids who have inner monologues as well as imaginary friends, and the struggle of making friends. Toby's parents' story is quite deathly obvious as to what the message is. It's communication and spending more time with your significant other. Nose's story is about over-obsessiveness and also about touching grass. The final episode is basically just going back to the general idea of the movie, mainly being careful what you wish for. That's pretty much it. Is this movie good? Not really. Is it entertaining to watch at least once or twice? Most definitely. I don't have many issues with this film. I mainly just find it cringe at the weird scenes, like with the eating with the fish, the very long foot scene, and the bullies being extremely weird, but somehow that's socially acceptable with the rest of the people who are in this movie because there's literally nothing being done against the authorities. And also the fact that this fairly large sized town only has this mass amount of people at the end of the movie. Like, if the houses were all secretly empty and this is actually a dystopian society, I would honestly not be surprised because of the way that it was all shot. Also, the lore of the Rainbow Rock is kind of flat, and besides there just being, oh yeah, rock come from thunderstorm because thunderstorm can make rock hail, rainbow rock. Yeah, the film's writers were literally just falling apart with this movie. I don't know what drugs they took. I wish that Loogie and his brothers sifted through some of the pages of the giant book of rules because, as Lug said about...
Yeah, no strategy guide, cheat codes, and nothing.
Where are the actors now? Jimmy Bennett, the actor who played Toby, was 12 years old when they were filming shorts, and he has also acted as a young James T. Kirk in 2009 Star Trek, Poseidon, Evan Almighty, and many more. Jolie Vanier, Helvetica, was 10 when they filmed shorts, and she has also acted in Chasing Grace and Escape Room 2018. Loogie, Trevor Gagnon, has also acted in Fly Me to the Moon, this will be a future video, I promise, and hasn't gotten a movie role ever since the last episode of a sitcom called The New Adventures of Old Christine. Jake Short, who played Nose, has starred in multiple movies such as Muppets Most Wanted, Super Cool, and a movie called Sex Appeal, which came out at the start of this year on Disney+. James Spader, Mr. Black, was also in Avengers Age of Ultron. Oh my god, he was actually Ultron. Damn, he came a far away from this movie. Stacey, Kat Dennings, compared to everyone else, is extremely successful as an actress after shorts because she was in Big Mouth, Two Broke Girls, the Thor franchise, and WandaVision. The reception of shorts was fairly mixed, getting a 4.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 47% on Rotten Tomatoes, 53 on Metacritic, and in 2010, it actually won the Best Performance in a Feature Film, Young Ensemble Cast award at the Young Artists Awards. The actress for Helvetica was nominated, but unfortunately didn't win. All in all, Shorts is a very strange and unique movie that you will most definitely forget if you haven't watched it in a long time. It's something that's extremely bad that it's good. The acting at some times is extremely atrocious, and the movie just introduces the suspicious white goo at the end because of plot convenience, which is that's just sad, man. I'm sorry. This entire movie is literally just like, there's a big gooey monster. Okay, let's have a glass barrier just go down. And it's like, shoo, and then it's just stuck. And then at other times it's just like, okay, shoot, we need something for the plot. What do we use? Let's get the suspicious white goo. That's a good idea. I almost forgot to mention the fact that the budget for this movie was $20 million, which I'm convinced that at least more than half went to the CGI and at least $1 million went to the CGI foot. How much money did they make back? $29 million. Besides everything mentioned, Shorts is a solid 4 out of 10 for me. It's entertaining, but it's a better watch with friends rather than alone, and even though it's forgettable, there are definitely some scenes that will stick with you because of just how bizarre they are. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It would mean a lot if you could share this video, like, subscribe, check out my Patreon, the link's in description. Thank you for watching, and have a
Yeah,
Helvetica, 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 black.
day.